Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and today we're going to do another dip it or dump it. So Azure Beauty sent me this amazing kit. I haven't opened it yet. I've actually been sitting on it for, I don't know, it's been months and I've been wanting to use it and I've just been getting sidetracked, but I'm finally setting aside some time. We're going to unbox this and then we're going to do a mani using some of the products. And of course, even though it was sent to me, I will give you my honest opinions on this kit. But this thing is so large, it won't even fit in frame. Like, let me zoom out. Like, look at how large this kit is. I mean, it is crazy. It says it's 32 pieces. And so let's go ahead and unbox it. So I'll unbox it kind of real time. And then I'll probably switch to voiceover so that I can do a mani. Let me see. How do I open this thing? There we go. I mean, come on. This is crazy. All right. There's so much stuff in here. Okay, that's all of what's in the box. So let's see. Just a little after service card. Oh, that's nice. So instructions if you're newer to this. So this kit will come in handy because, you know, it's got, I think, everything you need in it. And then also instructions. Oh, okay. So it just shows you the difference in opacity. Like the more dips you do, the more opaque it's going to be. So that's going to show the difference in colors. Underneath here, it looks like we have some extra brushes. I never end up using them, which I think is a good thing, but I like that they include it just in case you harden your brush. It's got some extra brushes. And then so much. I don't even know where to start. So we've got a little duster brush. I think it'll be good for either just dusting off or some ombres. I'm going to remove that packaging. We've got the dip liquid, so base coat, activator. Oops. You probably can't see it. Base coat, activator, top coat, and brush saver. Oh, that's interesting. So it gives you a brush saver and extra brushes. So I guess depending on what you want to use. You've got a little nail file, which this is pretty coarse. It may be a 100, 180, but it seems pretty coarse. A little buffer block. Ooh, a dip tray. I didn't know kits came with dip trays. That's nice. So you can either do like a French tip with this tray, you can do a marble with this tray, or you could just, you know, pour over in this tray. So that's really nice that this is included in there. And then look at all these colors. Like, oh my goodness. I'm wondering though, is there a clear? Or is that the only thing, oh my gosh, that's missing from this kit? I'm guessing since this has the number 22, it's probably a white and not a clear. Oh, that's nice. All the powders come sealed. I don't know. I'm guessing it's a white. So I'm guessing the only thing I don't have in this kit is a clear, which for me, I always use clear. So I think that's the only thing missing. Otherwise, this kit really has everything you need. I mean, of course, the purples are going to call out to me. So this is $3.26. I don't even know how I'm going to choose. Ooh. I'm not huge on browns, but this one, look at that shimmer to it. This one like screams fall. This kit has like a wide variety of colors. I don't think I'm going to swatch them. I think, ooh, look at that. Look at that golden shimmer in there. That is stunning. Anyway, what I was saying was this has such a wide variety of colors. Like, I feel like this kit isn't seasonal. I feel like this is just like a little bit of everything. So that's really great because you can really use this year round. I do have there's some like loose powder around. I'll have to clean that up a little bit. All right, so let me figure out what colors I'm going to use, and then I'm going to hop back on in voiceover mode, and then we'll do a mani, and I'll give you my first impressions, thoughts on these liquids as well as the powders. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do, so I'll be back. Okay, I'm back and I picked these 3 colors to use, and I'm hoping they'll all work out together because I didn't swatch them, so I'm just judging by the colors in the jar. Surprise, surprise, they're all purple, but I figured even if they don't really go well together, it's still purple, so I'm still gonna love it. So we're gonna use these 3 colors. I'm gonna use the dip liquids that came in the kit, so I'm gonna be using my Liquid Chaos Trio to hold these bottles because they are super small, very light, really easy to tip over. They're kind of, obviously too big for my liquid holder, but definitely at least prevents me from knocking them over and spilling liquids everywhere. So we're going to go ahead and get into this mani. So looking at the liquids, obviously these are tiny bottles. It looks like the liquids are a bit thinner, and there's not a lot, like a very strong smell to them. I will say though, because they're such tiny bottles, it's a really tiny, skinny brush, which, it has its advantages. I prefer like the paddle brushes. I do like the smaller brushes, like the long, skinny like this, just because it makes it easier to get a cleaner cuticle line. However, on a thumb like as big as not a thumb, a finger as big as your thumb, it takes a lot more strokes to cover the whole area. So that's the only downside. But, it's because it's these little bottles in the kit. I'm sure like if I got full-size bottles off of Amazon, they wouldn't be the same brush. So I feel like a lot of my feedback on what I'm using for these liquids for the bottles is really based on it just being a smaller size in the kit. So for my initial impressions as I'm using these products, I'd say the dip base is a thinner consistency. It does have a smell, but it's not a super strong odor, so it's not odorless. But I think from where I'm sitting, I'm kind of further away from the bottle. I don't smell it as I'm dipping my nails. And then as far as the powders, they are softer, fluffier, although they're not super pigmented. And part of that could be attributed though to my peel base. So I am wearing a layer of peel base underneath this. So it is a little bit patchy on the first layer. And then dry time, I thought my index finger was dry, but right there, it was still wet, and I brushed off part of that dip, which I was super bummed about. So I would say dry time, probably about a medium dry time. I thought it was fast and I felt it and it felt dry, but apparently it wasn't. So I'll have to be a little more careful. So I'm going ahead and going in with layer 2. And for layer 2, I want to make sure to get the areas that I missed with the first layer. And I'm going to attribute that to my peel base and not because of the dip liquids. So I've got my entire nail covered. I'm going to go ahead and dip back into the jar. Ignore the mess that I'm making. It's a small jar and I skipped breakfast, I think, when I was dipping this. So I don't recommend dipping when you miss breakfast because I was a little bit shaky. So I found that I was kind of struggling a little bit with liquid control. And I think it's a combination of things. One, I think it's because it's a thinner dip base. And then because the brush in the smaller bottle is like thin and skinny. I had a problem figuring out like how much liquid I needed because I either wouldn't get enough dip base and I'd have to dip back into the bottle, or I'd get too much and I'd flood my sidewalls and cuticle a little bit. But I think that's, goes back to the beginning where I said it's probably all attributed to the fact that it's these smaller bottles that come in the kit and not like if I were just to buy a full size bottle, I think it'd be a different story. So I will try to actually not mention that kind of thing because I don't think that's really fair. But if you do buy this kit, that is something to keep in mind. But I don't know, just some random thoughts. I do wait a little bit longer this time to try to dust off because I don't want to take off another layer of dip because I just didn't want to start over again. So once I'm sure it's dry, I'm using that little brush to dust off. And then I'm kind of taking a look at it to see, did I cover that patch? Do I need a third layer? If I capped in clear, would that fix it? But I decided I would actually go ahead and do a third layer because I felt like you could still sort of see that patch where I messed up that dip on my index finger. So actually I'm going to go ahead and go in with layer 3. I'm going to skip capping in clear. Normally, whether it's solids, glitters, whatever it is, I always like to cap in clear. But I figured not only would it help cover up that patch that I messed up on my index finger, I think it also is a good test to the pigments that are in this dip powder. Because if I buff on top of these pigments and then my color looks a little patchy, a little uneven, then there's not like a good pigmentation in the dip powder. So that's a good indicator. I mean, obviously I don't want to walk around with a Manny looking patchy, but I figured, that's a good way to see how the pigments are in this powder. So that's why I decided to go in with layer 3 and skip capping the solids and clear. The next color I'm going to be using is number 81, and this is a solid powder as well. It's a darker purple than what I used on my index finger and thumb, and that's going to go on my ring finger and pinky. So because I did 3 dips each on my index and thumb, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 dips each on these as well, just to keep my layers even. And then once I'm done with those, I'm not going to cap them in clear still, but I'll go ahead and activate on top of the colors. But I'm actually going to only show you 2 dips because I think the 3 is a little repetitive, but just know that I did 3 dips of this color as well. The activator bottle was sealed super tight, which is great because that means my product's not going to leak while in the packaging. However, I could not get it open. So one of the hacks that I like to do that works for me almost all the time, not always, but most of the time, is getting a rubber band and tying that around the lid of the jar, and then it helps me get a better grip on it so that I can open up the jar. It's still a little bit of a struggle, but most of the times it does work for me. I pliers are my last resort because pliers can be a little too rough. They can break your bottle, so I don't want to risk that. So I like to try the rubber band first. I sometimes complain about a bottle being sealed too tight. However, I would be even more upset if I got a product and all of it leaked out, which I have had happen before. I can't remember what kit it was I bought. I think it was off of Amazon. I can't remember what it was. It definitely wasn't Azure because this is my first time using them. But I got the kit and the activator had all leaked out, so I had no activator. But anyway, that's not even the point of this video. So now I'm moving on to the glitter now that my solid nails are activated. So I missed the number. I think it was like 320 something. But this is just a darker purple. It's not super packed with glitter. So I do end up actually doing 3 layers of this as well, just because it's not super chunky. It's more of like the finer powder, the base color. It's got some finer purple glitters and then some smaller hex glitters. But it's not like packed with them, so it's not super thick, which is why I did the 3 layers as well, just to keep all my nails even. And you'll see with my first layer that it's pretty sheer, so I do want to build that up a little bit. I don't think I ended up doing any glitter placement just because it's meant to be like not larger glitter pieces anyway, so I just kind of left it as is. And I am happy with the way it turned out, but I have to say it's definitely a different experience using like these types of glitters in like a kit like this versus a small business, because usually when I buy from like the smaller businesses, you know, it's packed full of glitter, so like I get a lot of glitter payoff, where this is just a little bit of glitter. I wouldn't say it's bad, I'd just say it's different. So I'm just tapping my jar against a table so I can bring more of those glitters to the surface, because I want more glitter on my nails because the glitters will tend to sink. So either shaking it or tapping it against like a hard surface like your table will help bring those to the surface so that you can dip directly into more of those glitters. Since this kit didn't come with a clear, I'm going to be using my double dipped clear to encapsulate my middle finger in clear. So I don't have to use a clear dip powder. I could use gel-based gel top coat. I could use a builder gel, whatever I choose to encapsulate. But if I'm going to do filing and buffing, I do need to protect those glitters because most colored glitters are silver in the center, so you can easily tell when you filed through a glitter and it just isn't as pretty. So I always protect my glitters before I start doing any filing and buffing, and for this case I'm going to be using my clear. I went ahead and activated and filed and buffed off camera, and I'm just using some isopropyl alcohol and a little scrubby brush just to remove any of that excess dust. I'm just too lazy to get up and wash my hands, if we're being honest. I usually do this all the time. I usually just do it off camera. So I'm just removing that dust. I'm going to give it maybe like 10-15 seconds to dry. It dries fairly quickly. And then after it's dry, I'm going to go in and apply one final layer of activator because we're going to get into top coat. So I will say while it's drying, I did file through a little bit of the pigment on my thumb. I don't think it's super noticeable, but for me, I notice it because it's on my fingers. So I'd say I probably would recommend capping even your solids in clear if you're going to use these powders, just so you don't get any splotchiness. Maybe I went a little too ham, but there are some companies where I can go a little ham over solids directly and I still don't get any patchiness. So it's just my personal opinion. You know, you can do whatever you choose to do. I waited 2 full minutes for my activator to dry, so now I'm going in with my dip top coat. I'm applying it in 2 to 3 swipes on each nail. I want to be fairly quick about it, and then in between each nail, I'm making sure to wipe my brush on a lint-free wipe to remove any excess activator because I don't want to harden my brush. And I will say, even though I said I wouldn't mention the brush anymore, this is where it becomes a little more difficult because the brushes are long and skinny. Trying to apply the top coat in 2 to 3 swipes on each nail with that long skinny brush was a little bit tricky, especially when I got to my thumb. And I did flood my cuticle a little bit, so I'm making sure to clean that up before it dries. I'm on my second layer of top coat. So right after I finished my first layer, I went straight in with my second layer because the first layer started looking a little dull and wrinkly. So I went straight in, but of course I had to flood my cuticles. As always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles with my Scales of a Mermaid cuticle oil. I'm using the scent Existential Crisis. And actually, that's another thing I think the kit is missing because I strongly believe that no mani is complete without finishing up with some cuticle oil to rehydrate your skin because it takes a beating during the mani process, all the dust, all the filing that happens. So I feel like you need it to kind of freshen up your skin after you're done. So that pretty much wraps up today's video. So I'd say first impressions of the kit. I don't know how I don't feel like it's a dip it or dump it. I'm kind of in between. Like, I feel like if you're new to dipping, this is a good way to start. If you want to expand your collection, have a whole bunch of colors. But like for me, because I have probably thousands of dips at this point, I don't feel like it's worth it for me just because there are so many really amazing quality small businesses out there. Reach out to me if you want some recommendations. So I'd say dip it if you're newer to dipping. I wouldn't even say dump it, but I would say for me, I probably wouldn't buy another kit, but I did enjoy using this kit. I don't see anything wrong with it. The dip top coat's shiny, no problems with the liquids. It's just, I just have so many other powders, really, if I'm being honest. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.